Hello, I'm Vladimir Kramnik, 32 years old. I'm currently the world chess champion, and I would like to tell you a bit about my story, my life in chess.
London, October 2000. The chess world gathers at the Riverside Studios for a battle that defied all expectations. On one side, Garry Kasparov, the undisputed king of chess, unbeaten in world championship play for 15 years. On the other, Vladimir Kramnik, the quiet Russian challenger, talented, yes, but dismissed by many as having no chance. What unfolded would shock the chess world and change the game forever. Vladimir Kramnik was born in 1975 in Tuapse, a small port town on Russia's Black Sea coast. His childhood was shaped by modest surroundings, but also by a family that recognized his extraordinary intelligence early on. By the age of 5, he was already solving chess problems far beyond his years. As a teenager, he entered the powerful Soviet chess school system, a proving ground that had produced generations of champions. There, Kramnik distinguished himself, not with flashy sacrifices, but with calm precision and a natural understanding of complex positions. He absorbed classical principles deeply, developing a style that blended patience, accuracy, and a quiet resilience. By the early 1990s, his skill was undeniable. Kramnik began appearing at strong international tournaments, impressing seasoned grandmasters who had played at the top for decades. Observers noted his remarkable composure. He rarely rushed, never seemed rattled, and often found resources in positions others would abandon as hopeless. In these years, his name circulated more and more. A rising player marked not by noise or theatrics, but by a quiet, steady brilliance. It was clear that the chess world had found a new force in Kramnik, one destined for the very highest level. Kramnik's strength doesn't lay in what he played, but in what he refused to play. He was a master of restraint, often steering games away from chaos, into positions he understood more deeply than his opponents. Where others sought complications, Kramnik sought clarity, positions where long-term planning mattered more than short-term fireworks. He excelled in preparation, spending countless hours refining openings, until he knew their structures inside out. That discipline gave him a reputation as one of the most difficult players to surprise. At the same time, his ability to navigate complex middle games and grind down equal endgames showed his versatility. To many, he represented a new kind of chess, professional, scientific, thorough, and clinical in execution. It was this combination of preparation, strategic clarity, and iron technique that marked him out as a player destined for the very top. By the late 1990s, Garry Kasparov stood at the absolute peak of his powers. He had ruled the chess world since 1985, defeating challenger after challenger with a mixture of deep preparation, fierce intuition, and an unrivaled will to win. His ELO rating soared beyond 2,800, a height no other player in the history of chess had ever reached before, and for years he seemed untouchable. To sponsors and the media, Kasparov wasn't just the best, he was the face of chess itself. And yet, beneath the surface, the chess world was in flux. The 1990s had torn apart what had once been the most stable of traditions, the World Championship cycle. For decades, the path to the crown was clear. Zonal tournaments, interzonals, candidates matches, and finally a title bout against the reigning champion. But in 1993, everything changed. Kasparov and Nigel Short broke away from FIDE, the International Federation, to play their championship match under a new organization, the Professional Chess Association.
He decided, you know what, it's time to professionalize chess.
That's what he wanted to do.
Let's take the world championship over.
Right.
Basically, it was a hijacking.
Right.
And when he played against Nigel Short in 1993, it was not under the umbrella of FIDE, but was under the umbrella of the newly created Professional Chess Association.
Suddenly, the chess world had two rival titles, the FIDE champion on one side and Kasparov's classical champion on the other. This split created chaos. Sponsors didn't know which title to back, fans argued endlessly about which champion was real, and many of the strongest grandmasters were caught in the middle. Cycles were abandoned, formats were improvised, and legitimacy was constantly questioned. Still, one thing did not change: Kasparov's dominance. Whether under FIDE or outside it, in tournaments or matches, his results kept him firmly at the center of the chess universe.
I had to play Vladimir Kramnik
for another challenge, for the World Championship match in London. And it was a great year for me. From 99 to the first half of 2000, I had probably the best winning streak in my career, maybe the best in the history of chess. I had the highest rating ever. I won a number of tournaments, eventually all tournaments I played, and the quality of chess was superb. It just was great ideas, you know, splash here and there, in the openings, in the middle game, in the end game. And so I believed, as everybody said, I was unbeatable. It doesn't mean that I stopped working. I worked really hard. I came back with new ideas. I wanted to surprise Kramnik, and I believed I had enough strength to win.
So when the sponsor Brain Games Network stepped in to organize a new World Championship match in London, the assumption was simple. It would be another Kasparov victory, another chapter in a reign that already seemed eternal. For the challenger, the organizers turned to Vladimir Kramnik. He was respected, certainly a top 5 player, young, disciplined, with flashes of brilliance in team events and tournaments. But crucially, he had never won the candidates tournament, the traditional proving ground for challengers. To many, his nomination felt like a formality, more a product of circumstance than a reflection of his potential. The chess world expected another Kasparov triumph, but history has a habit of turning on unlikely challengers. London's Riverside Studios, the stage was set for a 16-game World Championship. Each player needed 8.5 points to claim the title, with classical time controls demanding constant focus, stamina, and precision. For the audience, anticipation was at its peak, as two of the world's greatest minds prepared to face off. First game, Kramnik revealed his secret weapon. Against Kasparov's lifelong specialty, the Ruy Lopez, Kramnik unveiled the Berlin defense, an opening considered, until then, dry and drawish. But in Kramnik's hands, it was an impenetrable wall, which made Kasparov's attacking plans fizzle out. The greatest player of all time suddenly had no way forward. Game 2 proved decisive, the moment when the momentum truly shifted. With the white pieces, Kramnik steered the game into a carefully constructed queenless middle game, a position many players would consider drawish, but which he transformed into a battlefield of subtle advantages. He exploited the smallest imbalances, a backward pawn here, a slightly exposed king there. Every maneuver was precise, designed to slowly restrict his opponent's mobility while keeping his own position solid. It was the kind of endgame mastery that often goes unnoticed by casual observers, but at the grandmaster level, every tiny advantage can become decisive. The initiative had fully passed to him. Kasparov's counterplay had been neutralized, and the first full point of the match belonged to Kramnik. The psychological impact was immediate. A challenger, 10 years his junior, had taken the lead in a world championship match. For the chess world, it was proof that preparation, patience, and strategic clarity could outweigh raw aggression and prior reputation. Game 2 was no longer just a single win. It was the turning point that would shape the entire championship. The games that followed were a relentless test of nerves and preparation. Kasparov tried everything. Sharp Sicilian lines, Grunfeld defenses, even aggressive English openings. But each time, Kramnik's preparation and understanding held firm. Some games ended in quiet draws, almost uneventful to the casual observer. Yet each was a psychological victory for Kramnik. Kramnik refused to give his opponent even the smallest edge, and gradually the momentum shifted in his favor. Pressure mounted. With every draw, Kasparov grew increasingly frustrated, his usual confidence giving way to tension. Kramnik, by contrast, appeared unshakable, navigating each position with calm precision, ready to exploit any misstep. By the middle of the match, it was clear that Kramnik was dictating the rhythm. The lead he had taken in Game 2 was no longer a fluke. It was the foundation of a growing dominance that would carry him all the way to the final game. Game 10 carried the weight of the entire match. From the very start, the position sharpened. What began as a Nimzo-Indian quickly spiraled into imbalances. The tension rose with every move, the position alive with possibilities. Where Kasparov pressed for complications, Kramnik remained unshaken, steering the game into a battle of pure will and nerves. The queen stayed on the board, and the tension never eased. White's sacrifices tore apart the king's side, exposing black's king to checks and threats from every direction. Kasparov's queen tried desperately to counterattack on the queen's side, but every capture only loosened his grip on the defense. Kramnik's knights became the stars of the battle. First anchoring themselves on key outposts, then leaping into the heart of Black's position, they coordinated with the queen to suffocate all resistance, leaving Kasparov with no escape. The point was secured, and with it, the match. The championship was sealed, not a single loss, a flawless execution that left spectators and analysts alike in awe. For Kramnik, the 2000 London Championship match was more than a win. It was the statement that would define his career. The final score, 8.5 to 6.5. For the first time in 15 years, the king was dethroned. The chess world erupted. Headlines across Europe and Russia hailed Kramnik as the man who stopped the unstoppable. Kasparov, usually moving in victory, was subdued, even stunned. Experts debated endlessly. Was it Kramnik's flawless preparation or Kasparov's overconfidence? In truth, it was both. Preparation had triumphed over improvisation, patience over intuition. Every move, every pawn advance, every subtle maneuver in London had contributed to a masterclass in strategic mastery. Kramnik had not only claimed the title, he had rewritten what was possible in the art of high-level chess, showing that discipline, calculation, and quiet resilience could conquer even the greatest of champions. For players and fans alike, it was a lesson that would echo through the decades. In chess, as in life, meticulous preparation can change history. Kramnik's reign was not without challenges. In 2004, he narrowly defended his title against Peter Lecco in a tense match that went down to the wire, with every game scrutinized and every half-point fiercely contested. The pressure tested not only his skill but his nerves, and Kramnik proved once again that patience and precision were his greatest weapons. 2 years later, he faced Veselin Topalov in Elista in a historic unification match that carried the weight of decades of division in the chess world. Controversy and political tension surrounded the encounter, from disputes over rules to disputes over protocol, making the stakes higher than ever before. Yet through it all, Kramnik's calm, methodical approach carried him to victory. With that win, he finally reunited the split chess world under a single, undisputed title, cementing his place not only as a champion, but as a unifying figure in the history of modern chess. Perhaps Kramnik's greatest contribution was his influence on modern opening theory. After the championship match in London, the Berlin defense transformed from a forgotten sideline into one of the most respected weapons in elite chess. To this day, world champions including Magnus Carlsen use the Berlin as a cornerstone of their repertoire. Kramnik proved that deep preparation and patience could defeat even the most creative genius. In his later years, Kramnik remained at the top, competing in elite tournaments and mentoring younger talents. He worked with computers, researchers, and eventually with artificial intelligence projects, always pushing the boundaries of chess understanding. In 2019, he announced his retirement from classical chess, not with fanfare, but with the quiet dignity that had defined his entire career. Kramnik's legacy is not just in his victories, but in the way he achieved them. He showed that precision, discipline, and preparation could overcome even the most brilliant natural talent. He was the man who stopped Kasparov, and in doing so, he reshaped modern chess. This is Vladimir Kramnik's story, a champion, a reformer, and a giant of the game. Putting together a documentary like this takes a lot of time and research, so if you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. It really helps me keep making more. And let me know in the comments what story or player you'd like to see covered next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.